When Xbox said that in their marketing campaign, if you didn't have an Xbox, it wasn't really a big deal, a lot of people basically, in a sense, just crucified them. There was just no way that a company who, made consoles would tell anybody that you can play our games without a console. Now, again, some of us who knew and saw this move kind of understood that a lot of these folk were basically taking on a myopic view. In fact, in some cases, some of the folks were exhibiting straight up pure malice. They did not want to acknowledge that this was a technological advancement that Xbox could gain from. And in their minds, you can play Xbox on a TV. And then Xbox continued and basically kept making this known. And they doubled down with the "this is an Xbox" campaign, showing that basically devices of specific natures can access Xbox's ecosystem. Now, when you put it all together, you can come now and see that as Steam is adopting this, it's now exposing a lot of these folk, because a lot of these folk, man, I can tell you for sure that many of them are either willfully ignorant about the reality, or for the most part had pretty much gone ahead to, lie to themselves that somewhere, somehow they actually had the right idea in terms of how this thing was going to work, and that console was going to be pretty much the main way that you play video games. I got to go ahead and tell you, most of us that are watching these videos and talking about these video games were in the demographics of boomer, Gen X, millennial, and so on and so forth. Many of us are not paying attention to the way the younger generations are approaching their gaming and how they're actually dealing with it. If you are, you will realize that this whole console thing is a fugazi. These kids have access to some of their favorite games on mobile phones. They have access to some of their favorite games on their tablets. They have access to some of their favorite games on devices that they even use in academics and education. And so console sales, waiting for these kids to go out there and buy a console, or waiting for them to ask their mommy and their daddy to get them a console without having introduced yourself to them first as a company who makes games, is literally detrimental to you. Now, PlayStation operates on the reality that most adults who have played on PlayStation will more than likely continue their children on PlayStation. But what if those adults are not in the mood to actually buy, or at least, get their kids a PlayStation console? A lot of these kids don't need a console to actually game. They don't have many of them don't have consoles, and their parents aren't that just running out there to buy them, $400-$500 consoles. And so what they're doing is they're basically using their phones. And a lot of these phones that the parents are giving them by their teenage years, they're getting from a lot of their providers for basically free. So, well, I say free in quote. Someone pays for it and you pay for it, but it's, it's added into your, your entire phone plan, where you basically are paying, these exorbitant rates in some cases. And in some cases, you're paying very, decent, affordable rates. And now you have a device in your hand that's basically better than, say, even a Nintendo Switch in some cases. And these companies are like, man, we have to go meet these folk there. We have to go where these people are playing their games. And so for the, boomer in some cases, and for the millennial like myself in some cases, it's hard to imagine that, the traditional methodology of playing these games are gone or are going away in that regard for their generation. Now, for us, we got our thing going. We like our, physical devices. In some cases, as a PC gamer, you like that setup. You like all that stuff. But you're seeing right now that, there's a transition going on, and technology is starting to move quite differently. I'm looking at this Steam announcement of the SteamOS being available on different platforms. I'm looking at even some PC gamers saying, I would like to have and get a hold of this. I even saw this comment here where someone is saying, they should have these things on TV. Some people are saying, announce a SteamOS console that's a bit cheaper than the Steam Deck, and I can hook it up to my TV and play Balatro, please. People are actually talking about this. I hope the next SteamOS is becoming downloadable to install on any PC this year. Will be perfect time since Windows 10 reaches end of life by October, and a lot of people don't want to upgrade to Windows 11. So if I get a Lenovo Legion Go S, I can play my Steam games on that. I don't have to get a Steam Deck, because I was thinking of buying the Steam Deck soon. Yes, you can play your Steam games, basically anywhere, is what Steam is saying. And this stuff is being heralded. This stuff is actually being, in a sense, commended. And I strongly believe that as Xbox was actually getting into the market to do this, and a lot of people were basically trying to mock Xbox, they were coming from a place of malice, and they were coming from a place of basically willful vitriol. They were not here to have good conversations and genuine, investigative knowledge about what the heck was going on. They only cared about list wars and console wars and my console sold 60 something million units and such. But Steam, having never even had much in terms of hardware, they've had some hardware, is still over there trying to now finally push some hardware while already being successful because they have a platform. And the platform is what Xbox has been building for the longest time, even though it already had a console. PlayStation has a console, but has in this moment not necessarily built a comprehensive platform. And this lack of a comprehensive platform is basically what they were kind of, in a sense, reeling from in terms of their, company and what they didn't have compared to Xbox when their Insomniac leak of 2023 came to light. They knew that Xbox had this available to them when Jez Corden published that article. And I was looking at it all this while, and we've been talking about it from when the leaks came out. You guys remember there was a Marvel Spider-Man 2 build that got even dumped out there in the internet that some, pirates went ahead and compiled and put together. And a bunch of people have already played Marvel Spider-Man 2 on PC. So the launch coming later, in the month, or I think beginning of next month, I can't remember exactly the date, is not going to have much impact on a lot of people, especially seeing how PlayStation wants, the PlayStation requirement. Some people are going to laugh and say, nope, they're going to go, get a pirated version of the game, which is absolutely sad because I'm the kind of guy that would love to double dip. As a PlayStation guy myself, in many cases, I play a lot of PlayStation games. I'm looking at this going, this is crazy. So when they were saying this and they said, Microsoft's acquisition of Activision positions it to leapfrog our current pillars. Why? Why was PlayStation actually saying this at the time? They were saying it because of the following reasons. That Activision provides incredible strategic value across live service games, scaling mobile and PC storefront. A PC storefront is not something that PlayStation has decided to go ahead and put into practice. I've been saying this for the longest time, that PlayStation needs to get its PC storefront. Sure, they can still rely on Steam and Epic Games, but it doesn't remove them from actually doing it to create an extension of their console platform to anybody who may want to come in there. Now, they're going to have to learn how things are done. They're going to have to learn how to appeal to the PC audience. But at the end of the day, there is nothing wrong in doing this. Then they said this, in addition, Microsoft is building a mobile gaming store to compete with Apple and Google. They already realized that Microsoft was basically expanding beyond the box, and to them, they considered that a threat. They considered that a leapfrog over them, and still yet, they have not really done anything. They have it in their plans to do it, but they're still basically going ahead and just sitting there. They even talked about the fact that Microsoft can actually supply multi-game subscription 50%, console games, and PC games. So everything right now that Microsoft had basically been castigated for, Steam is getting their hands into, Steam is getting basically heralded for, and PlayStation not doing it makes it, according to these folks, seem like PlayStation has, in quote, a solid plan. It's like up is down and down is up with a lot of the video game analysis and the video game market analysis, that a lot of these people forget that innovation is basically how you win in the video game market. It's just so weird at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, that this is where we are right now in today's conversation. And so when I think about how, we've approached this whole thing, I strongly believe right now that a lot of the folk who have basically sat down to make fun of this stuff, I strongly think that they need to be the ones that get, examined as to what they were thinking when they saw this advancement. Because I believe you me, if they're PlayStation fanboys and PlayStation was doing what Xbox was doing with things like Game Pass and such, they'd be hailing it from the rooftops. They'll be shouting how great it is. I mean, some of these folk were telling you that Concord was actually a great game. I mean, do you remember that? Yeah. So again, you can see how, for the most part, their bias can show. And it's very interesting when it comes down to the fact that these particular actions are getting validated all over the place. Thanks for watching the video. Talk to me in the comment section. I appreciate you guys' time and audience. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.